This is Pivot Perspectives with Chris O'Byrne, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on their road to success, and get exclusive access on how to implement their success into your life and business. Pivot Perspectives is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Chris O'Byrne.
All right. Well, let's start then with going back a couple of years to your childhood. Can you share a story from your childhood that you feel was instrumental in developing you into the person you are today?
You know, I've thought about that for quite some time, and it's interesting. What comes to my mind is I think I was probably 13, 14 years old, and it was I was Boy Scouts. I think it was whatever this one just below Eagle, because I did eventually get my Eagle, but the one just below it. And our Boy Scout troop did an annual chicken survival weekend. And I'll always remember that because you would never, people would never do this nowadays, taking 13-year-old boys, pairing them up, dropping them off at point A, and tell them, we'll see you Sunday on Friday night, just before dark. Drop us off at point A with a live chicken, a peach can full of our survival gear, no food allowed. And I think we each carried a sleeping bag, I think, if I remember right. And we had to get from point A, that was a map and compass, of course. We had to get from point A to point B. And a pancake breakfast was waiting for us Sunday morning at point B. And that was like phenomenal to think about, that kind of independence, that kind of decision making, that kind of trust. And, you know, not like they just grabbed us off the street and dropped us, right? But there was training. We did survival campouts before. We learned how to build shelters, all those sort of things. Land navigation, all that stuff. But 13-year-old boys being dropped off with a live chicken and walking, and it wasn't that far. I mean, I don't remember how far it was anymore. Darn, Dad just left. I could have asked him. He might remember. But you know, literally going from A to B, completely unsupervised. Some matches and what's in our head and a live chicken to eat whenever we decided to. So that shaped a lot of who I am, how I do things. The fact that I love going out into the woods by myself. I love those moments. You know, there was a similar event in the Special Forces qualification course. Dang it. It was in the Uwharrie Forest. Now I can't think of the name of the exercise. It was a very similar thing. They drop us off at point A and you got to get to point B. And then at point B, you get information about point C, and you don't know how many points you have. You also don't know how long you have. You also had cadre looking for you to find you. And if they found you, they took you back to your last point. And I loved that thing. I love that exercise. And I think it comes from chicken survival and as a kid and just doing that. My first partner was Peter Lang, and because I did it twice. And it was just, what an amazing experience to allow teenagers to do. And just good luck, kids.
Oh my goodness. So How long did the chicken last?
I think we cooked it Saturday afternoon.
Oh, okay. It made it a day.
Yeah. We put it we hoboed it. We put it in a pillowcase and then got a stick, because I don't remember why. I think that was one of the things they told us we could have a pillowcase, put the chicken in. And then, you know, hoboed it, put it on the end of a stick and carried it over our shoulder, walking through the woods with a chicken in a pillowcase and hanging off.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
What an awesome experience.
Yeah, that was unreal. unreal experience to just have that kind of independence. And
Yeah.
it was all on us, right? Yeah.
So did you go into the military right after high school?
Kind of. So I went to Texas A&M with the desire to join the military. So I went through ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps, Reserve Officer Training,
Corps, yeah.
Corps. Yeah. So I was at the Corps at A&M, but I also enlisted in the Texas National Guard while I was at A&M because I had some upperclassmen who were doing it, and they said that I was an easy sell. They gave me the two things. Give me $120 of beer money a month, and I got to learn what it was going to be like, what it would be like to be a soldier before I became an officer. And really, to me, that was actually more important because I wanted to understand what life was like for my future soldiers. And when I became an officer, what they had gone through. So basic training, all the nothing on your collar private stuff. It was just a blast. Great experience. I was a tank driver. My tank was 5 years older than me. So yeah,
Nice.
that was pretty awesome. And then I changed units about halfway through. So I did 18 months as a tank driver. And then I changed to a special ops unit, and it wasn't a Green Beret unit. We were the long range reconnaissance surveillance detachment for the division. So there was 30 of us that did like special ops reconnaissance stuff, the deep fight. So I did that the last year plus of my time as enlisted before I received my commission.
Gotcha. So then, yeah, tell me kind of like what happened next and kind of walk me through your military career and any stories or things that you can share about that time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see. The no real, well, there's a little bit of a lesson when I was a LURS D guy, the long range guy. I always remember one training event. So we were in Austin, and we would always train at Fort Hood, and we would partner with a Huey helicopter company, another National Guard unit, and they would fly us in and infill us for the mission on Friday nights. It's kind of like a chicken survival. Go in Friday night and come out Sunday. But I remember coming out Sunday morning on one of the missions, and you see these signs because we're doing the exercise road march stuff now. But you see these signs off in the distance on the road that are facing the other way. They're like, what is that? What is that? We finally get up to the sign and look at it, and it says danger, impact area, do not enter, and all that. So we have been inserted into the wrong landing zone is what happened there. Fortunately, nothing bad happened, but it was just one of those oops. And so I got commissioned as a engineer, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and my first duty station was Fort Wainwright, Alaska, which is right outside of Fairbanks, Alaska. So way up there. Very cold and very dark in the wintertime, and the sun doesn't seem to set, even though it technically does in the summertime. Some great lessons there from dealing with the environment of, extreme cold survival, going into full-on survival mode, because the exercise is so cold that everybody else has gone back in, but we were already out. So we had to stay out, go into survival mode a couple of times. And, you build a bond with the guys sitting around. There was never any, when I say survival mode, it wasn't like we were in fear of death, rationing or anything like that. We never got to that point. It was just, all right, well, we'll sit here until somebody comes and gets us, sort of thing. but the bond that you have with those guys is, I mean, even to this day, I'm still connected with. There's a group of us on Facebook that still chat and get together. And when you think back to that, it was that the common situation put us into that sense of brotherhood. You know, we could talk more about what it's, you know, on the combat side of it, but that right there is the same thing. It's this commonality, common experience that you feel. And I found that the more extreme the experience, the closer the relationship. It's a very interesting thing, and I'm sure there's some psychologists that have done some studies on this, but it's a human nature thing of, if we've gone through an experience together, you know, I mean, even you and I just talking about, you know, can't wait to meet you in person. We'll have a common experience together through that Buffalo leadership thing. And that will bring us closer, or it might put us apart. I don't know, you know, in person. But that's what happens. There's this common human experience that, and I've talked about this in a number of other venues, is we'll never get beyond that. The ARs, the VRs, the Zooms, all these things will never replace the dude sitting next to me. Because, oh, by the way, guys relate side to side, women relate face to face. So I should turn sideways with you here. But it is that bond will never go away. And if it does, we've lost touch with society, and we'll never have the society that we've built, spend all this time. I'm not just talking about, you know, the great US of A. I'm talking about the human tribe and the human society of that. So that's a little bit of philosophical dive in from the Arctic of Alaska. While there, I volunteered for SF. Spent the rest of my career as a Green Beret. I got to do some really cool things as a Green Beret, and go to, you know, a couple of crap places. Probably you know, I don't talk about this a lot, but I probably should. I received the Medal for Bravery from the Polish Army for actions in Haiti. So when I was in Haiti, I took my team to Haiti. We were a coalition support team for the Polish Special Forces, and they're called GROM, GROM, which is an acronym, but it also means lightning in Polish. And while we were there, there was a riot, and I rescued a Haitian man from getting lynched. And the colonel thought, who was a good friend of mine, we had developed a long relationship. Unfortunately, he had some demons that that took over for him about 8-9 years ago. So Colonel Sławomir Pedalski is no longer with us, but he was the not the Marchenko, kind of a Dick Marchenko guy, but oh man, I can't think of the Delta Force founder. He was more the Delta Force founder than he was the Dick Marchenko guy. So he felt what my actions were important enough to receive this medal from the Polish Minister of Defense for bravery. One other guy on my team got one also for a similar situation that happened a little bit later in our deployment, where he rescued a Haitian. And for point of reference, they had also awarded these 2 medals to Master Sergeant Shugart, Shugart and Gordon, for what happened in Somalia, because they had done some training with the GROM before. So that was an amazing deployment. One of the very shaping for me and understanding building relationships. Here's their highest level unit, counterterrorism unit that I have to take care of. Me and my team have to take care of, and dealing with their culture and what they how they saw themselves, and then how my American headquarters looked at them and said, "Oh, just a bunch of Polacks. We don't need them. Put them on gate guard," and how we were able to sell them to where they actually provided the personal security detail for Secretary Les Aspin and for the then commander of U.S. SOCOM, General Downing. Had to think of his nickname first because I pushed that, we sold that to the command, and then Colonel Pedalitsky and his team demonstrated it, and they became the PSD for all dignitaries coming into the country when we were there, which is a high level of trust when you think about that.
Yeah. So tell me a little more about the potential lynching. How did that come about, and how did you prevent that?
It wasn't a whole lot more than driving down the road on a normal patrol and seeing a mob stopping, all right, what's going on here? And in my non-existent French and their broken English, some of the outskirts people told me, and pushed our way through the crowd. Because I had one of the Polish guys with me, pushed our way through the crowd and stopped it, got the guy, put him in our truck, and drove him to the other side of town. So, truthfully, in the personal opinion side, it was a diplomatic ploy by Colonel Pedalitsky. Also, did it take some bravery? When I look back on it, yeah. But were those people going to do anything to me? No. Because I'm
Gotcha.
And back then, so the image of the U.S. military, particularly special ops, I think that's a good thing to understand. When we see them now, the boys are all kitted up, right? Head to toe. They got the NOS, the helmet, the vest, all the stuff. When we were going out in Haiti and Bosnia and Kosovo, we were wearing BDUs and carried our 9mm, the Beretta 9mm M9 in a concealed position underneath our BDU shirt. That was the only weapon. We were not kitted up because we didn't want to present a threatening appearance, because we were trying to be part of the community and help the community. So yes, we were armed, but there was nothing like the fellows you see them now. Pictures from Iraq and Afghanistan, those fellows are kitted out to the nines. Yeah. We were slick. Can of Copenhagen, 9mm pistol, and sometimes if I figured out how to carry an extra mag, soft cap, ball cap, and that was it. We didn't even have, we were using, handheld walkie-talkies at the time, and so we didn't even have the emergency comm stuff. Most of the time, we'd leave those walkie-talkies in the truck because, walking around with that, another thing underneath your shirt to show that you're not carrying anything underneath your shirt.
Yeah. So then, how long were you in, and what rank did you leave at?
So I was in 25 years, and I retired as a lieutenant colonel. 05 is the kind of the pay grade they refer to it as. Sometimes I like to say, from tank driver to Green Beret lieutenant colonel. Because that's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
nothing tank driver with, nothing on my collar at all to, lieutenant colonel, and man, being able to wield some power and destruction if I wanted to, type of thing. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
quite the trajectory.
yeah, it is. It is. Took a while, but quite the experience that has led me to understand. I mean, the lessons that I learned throughout, just phenomenal, and they're what shapes everything I do now. From how I interact with people just on a personal basis to the coaching programs I've created and run to where I give back, and that's giving back to my veteran tribe, because
Yeah.
I look at my time, those 25 years have given me the foundation for everything from day one, really from day one of enlisting, raising my hand to enlist, all the way through, have given me the foundation of all my leadership, understanding, all my problem solving, problem identification, planning, crisis, chaos, how to handle it. I mean, there's so much that I gained through that I literally have taken it and converted it into the business world. Another story I haven't shared with a whole lot of people is one of the things I did right after I retired from the Army was Fairleigh Dickinson University hired me as a professor to teach a class called Planning and Program Development. And that class, they literally just sent me a book. I thought I could see it behind me. Just sent me a book. This is like this thick, and here's your book for the course. And I'm like, is there no program of instruction or lessons? Or nope, here's the book. So I read the book, and then I took all my knowledge of military planning process, the military decision making process, how we identified things, all those things, and I turned it into a business process. And that was what I taught for planning and program development. I taught it for about 2 years for them.
Now, is that what got you on the path to where you're at now with Tribe and Purpose?
I think it was a shape of it. I didn't get on the path to Tribe and Purpose until I'd hit a point. The way I like to put it is, I wandered the job desert for 7 years after retiring. 5 different companies, plus a consulting company that I was running in between those companies. And every one of them were great companies, but I hated every one of them at the time because I didn't understand who I was and what I was supposed to be doing. So it was a summer afternoon, right about this time, matter of fact, late June. I just finished my 7th year of coaching boys high school rugby. And I was sitting here feeling sorry for myself, wondering what's wrong with me. Why can't I find that job that everybody else seems to have, that really cool job? Why can't I? I was blaming myself the whole time. And I had a moment of clarity as I started to reflect on my life since leaving the Army. Looking back, I realized that only 2 things have been consistent in my life. Number one, family. Fortunate enough to, now 37 years married. 36 years. 36 years married to my still brand new, beautiful Texas bride that survived Alaska and all the deployments. Still married to her. So that was consistency number 1. And consistency number 2 caught me off guard. And that was boys high school rugby. Because right after I retired, my youngest son decided he wanted to play rugby. And I went from picking him up after practice. My wife would grab him at school, drop him off at practice, and I'd swing by the practice field, pick him up. Started leaving the office earlier, started getting out of the truck. Next thing I know, the head coach and I become good friends. he says, well, why don't you become an assistant coach? And I said, because I don't know anything about the game. So I became a student of the game. The next season, he asked me to take over as head coach.
Oh, dang.
And I ran that club for the next 6 years until I truthfully got burned out. And what happened that when I was having that moment of clarity, and why was I spending, 40 hours volunteering for something a sport that I had never played, that now all of a sudden I'm super passionate about. I was passionate about the boys. And that's what I realized. The sport was great. The boys were great, but it was being their coach. That third piece was that's what was fueling me. It was coaching, mentoring, guiding, teaching those young men to not just be great rugby players, but great young men when they graduate high school and into the community, into our communities. And so I took that bit of information and I took it to a couple of friends in my inner circle, in my network, and talked to them about it. Because I'd heard of life coaching. And I was like, the only life coaches I knew were Tony Robbins, and then the guys you meet at networking events that are close talkers and got the weak, cold hand, dead fish handshake guys.
Oh, yeah.
That ain't me. I ain't a touchy-feely guy. And they told me about executive coaching and business coaching. And so that's what I started to do the research, found some guys that were at the second and third levels of my network that were successful in that realm, bought them some cups of coffee, learned how they became coaches, and then learned how they ran their business. And that's when I shifted to taking what was my consulting business, LTO Enterprises. It's a very powerful name in the business world, right? Enterprises, LTO. You know what LTO stands for? Kids made it up. Kids made it up when Facebook first became a thing. Listen to Otis. I told people it stood for leadership training and operations. So I took LTO Enterprises and I flipped it into Tribe and Purpose, because I realized that that's who I am. That's what's important to me is establishing, knowing who my tribe is, giving back and taking care of my tribe, and doing it with purpose and intention, because your purpose, understanding, having clarity in your purpose is what fuels you. It's what gets you up every morning. If you know why you're doing it, it's the gasoline in the engine. It's the diesel in that F-250 you're driving down the road. It's that sort of thing. That's what your purpose is. It's because, to continue down the purpose role, your purpose is never fulfilled. Achieved. I messed up the punchline. Your purpose isn't achieved like a goal or a vision. Your purpose is fulfilled, but it's fulfilled in a cup that's never full. It is. It's not the cup runs over. The cup always has more space. And that's what your purpose is, because it's the thing that every morning when you have clarity in your purpose, you're like, yep, that's why I'm doing this. I don't feel like it, but yep, now I'm doing it. And you know that by doing your actions throughout your day, intentionally taking those actions with your purpose in mind, you are going forward with what you want to achieve and achieve your success. I summarize it as live your life with intention in pursuit of your purpose to achieve your success. That, man, you think about living that way, and I'm striving for it every day, striving for that every day. Love it. Love it.
That's awesome. Now, looking back over your life, who have been some of the key influences or mentors?
Well, we throw it back all the way back to Boy Scouts. Dad was a scoutmaster. My second dad, Ronnie Godfrey, was a scoutmaster. They showed us so much, from storytelling to living in the woods. And leading also. I had a couple of upperclassmen at Texas A&M that really took great care of me, and I think they shaped me into the special ops world, even though neither one of them pursued that. Chris Blockus and Kenny Crawford they were 2 years older, and they really took good care of me as a freshman and made sure I was going down the right path. They saw potential in me and believed in me. And then, man, I'm trying to think, as a young team leader, I had a lot of bosses just because of the way rotations. I had one boss, Mike Dietrich. He was a battalion commander. And the great thing about Mike is he trusted us, trusted me to do my job. And then he did what he said he'd do. So he was never that guy that would look up, call me up, hey, we need you to do this and need you to do that. It was, oh, that what you're doing? Okay, got it. And then, another boss, who I still stay in great contact with because we run into each other in the community all the time. Les Fuller. When I was in Kosovo the second time, I was a company commander, but the job that the amount of organization that I had underneath me, I had my 6 ODAs. I had an ODA from another battalion in 10 Special Forces Group. I had a SEAL platoon, and I had the Ranger Regimental Recon platoon, all under my command, my direct command, which nowadays I was a major. Nowadays is at least a 1-star general, commanding all those assets. And my direct report boss was outside of the theater. I mean, I had my bosses there, and Colonel Close was my boss there, and he trusted me. Man, he trusted me. Anything I said, he was like, all right, you got it, Otis, tell me if you need anything. And then I had the same thing on the special operations, the Green Beret side. General Les Fuller. Man, he covered me because, my boss would call up and say, there shouldn't be a major running this. His boss would call up and say, we need a colonel there. And General Fuller just said, no, stop. Otis got this. He doesn't need your help. He's handling it well. And protected me from that. And that was just freaking awesome that he did that. And then I'll give you the last one in the military, because a lot of people know Admiral Bill McRaven. I was fortunate enough to work with him hand in hand on a project to establish the NATO Special Operations Headquarters. And Admiral McRaven and I, because we're both Texas boys, except he went to the other school, the one in Austin. So we would have a lot of fun. And he was another one of those leaders, though, that trusted me 100%. And I used my story. We were building the NATO Special Operations Command. I'm going to use my Afghanistan story with Admiral McRaven for this. And we just held our first conference in Europe. So we brought in all these partner nation, NATO nation special ops commanders and a handful of ministers of defense. So Secretary of Defense level, we're talking, high level stuff. And we put them all on the U.S. 4-star commander's jet, all of us on the jet, it's whatever it is, 787, 757, it's a travel like a rock star. My one and only time in my life I've traveled like a rock star. And we flew direct from Germany direct into Kabul and did a little tour around the place to show these commanders, because we're selling the mission. And towards the day before we're leaving, Admiral McRaven pulls me out to the side and says, "You're staying." And I was like, okay. Roger that, sir. He says, I want you to fix this. Don't fuck it up. And if you need something, call me. Next day, we're back at the airport. All the other, secretaries and generals load the plane, go up the stairs, old school stairs going up, right? Admiral and me standing at the base of the stairs. Says, "You got this. Don't fuck it up. Call me if you need help." Salutes. I salute him back. Does a right face, goes up the stairs, plane. There I am But he had 100% trust in me to get the job done. And I called him. I was there for another 2-3 weeks. Called him twice. Said, boss, I might need something, because he and I knew, I understood what his intent was, and I knew what the end state was we wanted to achieve. I had clarity in that. And I also knew what his thresholds were. Meaning, I wasn't going to wait until anything became a crisis to make a phone call. That's the worst thing you can do for your boss, is wait. Crisis, I better call the boss. I mean, that's going to happen. But if you have indicators that something is going that way, you'll let them know early on. And that's what I did. I had to do it twice. We were going down the path. Unfortunately, I pulled it back. Let's just say that some of the things I was doing, some of the people that were there didn't want to do them, didn't have the same vision that we had. So it took a little bit more massaging on my part, but, a couple of reports back to the boss. Don't need you yet, sir, but I just got to give you a heads up in case. I've got about 24 hours on this thing, and if it doesn't change, I'm gonna need your help. That right there, that's the secret, man. That's money, as opposed to, oh my God, it all fell apart. These guys aren't going to do it. Yeah, that's problem solving on your own. Yeah.
Awesome story and awesome lesson. So, what parting advice do you have for the reader?
Well, the most important thing, and that's become my mantra, my phrase, is to live life with intention in pursuit of your purpose to achieve your success. And what people don't hear when they read that are the key elements. It's intention. I control it. It's what I want to do. It's my purpose. I know what my purpose is. I have clarity in the thing that fuels me. I know what it is, and I know why it is, and I know why I do it. And then finally, it's my success. I'm the only one that determines what's successful for me. Not anybody else. Nobody else can ever measure how successful I am other than myself. So that right there, if you strive to live your life with intention in pursuit of your purpose to achieve your success, you will be happy and fulfilled.
That is succinct and powerful. So how can people find out more about you?
The best way is, I'm on LinkedIn. So follow me on LinkedIn. The other thing, Chris, I always forget to do this, but I just thought of this. I've got my weekly newsletter, Monday Moments newsletter. I would love to have people sign up for Monday Moments newsletter, because it's a Stoic quote and then something I learned that I share. So like today's newsletter is from something I learned last week. There's some other tidbits in there, but it's a Stoic quote and then something I learned last week. And those two are tied very tightly together, the quote and what I learned. So I love sharing with that. I'd love to have that as an action, a call to action for people to
we'll make sure of it.
Yeah. So it's tribe-purpose.com, and it's the, sign up for the Monday Moments newsletter.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll make sure that's in there for sure.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
I love that because, I write it every week. So it's, recent, but it's also me giving back. I'm a believer in the fact that if I'm not sharing what I know, I'm being a selfish son of a bitch. So that is another way of me sharing what I've learned with others, is through the Monday Moments newsletter.
I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for that.
Thanks for listening to Pivot Perspectives with your host, Chris O'Byrne. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advice on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.